TRT World's producer Faisal Ali, who's joining us now live. Faisal, good to have you with us
Thanks.
on this. So just explain, why has Somali politics been at such an impasse for the past few months?
So as you just explained, Somalia's been in an electoral deadlock basically for the best part of 6 or 7 months. Contrary to popular belief, actually, this issue was resolved September last year. In a nutshell, you do have to understand the way Somalia's elections are meant to be conducted in contrast to other countries, to understand what the issues between Somalia's stakeholders actually are. So as you know, Somalia's elections are conducted through delegates who represent tribal clans, as well as various civil society groups. They select MPs who then elect a president. If you have influence over the process by which the MPs are elected and have a favourable parliament, of course you have a higher chance of becoming the president of the country. When they had talks earlier this year, they didn't actually reach the substantive issues, which was one of the major problems. The issues actually fell back on conversations about security to do with the conference, other small matters about what the president's role would be in those talks and so on and so forth. And when the talks eventually broke down, Farmaajo then decided to take the issue back to Parliament, which decided to extend its own mandate as well as extend the president's mandate, which was the original manifesto promise, a one-person, one-vote election for President Farmaajo. But opposition obviously viewed this as a naked power grab, which has led to this kind of standoff that we see.
So they didn't get anywhere with those talks then. They extended the term in office, but he's decided to row back on that. Why has he decided that now?
So as many people might have seen last week in Mogadishu, there was a lot of violence in the capital city. Members of the Somali National Army defected and joined protesters who were against the term extension. This led to clashes between the federal government and forces loyal to the federal government, as well as those who decided to go towards the opposition position on this issue. That led to about 60,000 people, at least according to the UN, having to leave the city. I was in contact earlier today with one of those people who told me the scenes in the capital city and the areas where he lived were carnage. Electricity was cut off, water was damaged, supply was damaged, so on and so forth. Before the bill was passed today, which revoked the 2-year term extension, the president gave quite an impassioned speech about the fact that he'd grown up in Mogadishu, that he went to school there, he studied Quran there, and so on and so forth, and that he didn't clearly want to see the violence which characterized the city in the 90s, in the early 2000s, returning. So pressure from civil society groups as well as the international community, as well as a recognition on his own part that the path that the government was going down wasn't the most constructive, pushed his perspective back on it. And this is why Parliament passed the bill unanimously in this regard. But even more so, he was in Congo a few weeks back, where he spoke to the president there and signaled that he was prepared to talk to the opposition to negotiate a solution to the electoral deadlock that we see in the country at the moment.
It's good that we have negotiated terms to try and find a way through this. So what can we expect to happen next then, do you think? So
the next steps are going to be interesting. In the last rounds of talks, the substantive issues weren't actually resolved because, as I said, they couldn't even get to that due to the distrust. Still, they have an issue with how the delegates from Somaliland will be selected, self-declared independent state. Jubaland, there's disputes there, as well as accusations from the opposition that the Independent Electoral Commission was being stacked with loyalists to the president. The Prime Minister is more trusted by the federal member states, 3 of which were persuaded by him partially to move away from the president's position on the 2-year term extension. If he's able to negotiate in good faith, a deal is within grasp. If they can't, then we're going to have to see the way things pan out otherwise.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of a longer process. I do appreciate your analysis, Faisal. Thank you very much for being with us.
Pleasure.